all I thought about was one day I'm gonna be an American and I'm gonna change my life and I'm gonna work so hard I'm not gonna depend on anybody to do it for me. That's where the drive comes from.
Yeah. So that drive started when once you 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And you have been nonstop for the last 8-9 years. And it must be tough for a young lady to not feel like you belong in a specific situation.
I never belonged. I was never a popular person in school. I was bullied so much. And that was also part of very emotional, and everything was just suppressed. I was very bullied. I didn't have a lot of friends. I couldn't really go out a lot because my city was like such a tiny place and it was such a violent and a lot of drugs. So there was not many options of things to do in there. So I'd stay home. I didn't really see the world until I lived with my mom, where I could just do whatever I wanted pretty much. And I go to like different cities with people that I didn't even know. It was me and my other 14-year-old friend. And we'd go to places, and I started seeing the world, and I was like, okay, this is all fun, but what am I doing? Where is this gonna end? Because that was always the thought in my mind, where is this gonna end? I don't want to end like my mother. I don't want to end like these people. It's not Italian, it's Brazilian, but it's something that's made with condensed milk and chocolate powder and just cookies. Super simple. But in my household, it was a luxury to be able to afford to buy condensed milk. It was not something that I could just step into the store and buy. So when I moved here and I had a job and I was getting paid, for me, I was completely over the top. This is the dream. And I wore the shirt very proudly. You know, I used to work at Dunkin', and I'd post myself working, I'd record myself working because I was proud of it and I was grateful to have a job. So I never came from a place of, oh, I'm better than this. I could be doing like something else. I never came from that place. I was always very, very grateful for whatever opportunity I had.
You have a positive mindset.
I do.
How do you think that helps you in everything that you do?
I think that when I look back to every opportunity that I had was always because I approached things in a positive way. My job at like house cleaning was because of my dad's friend, because he knew somebody that worked with it. And then at Dunkin' Donuts was because I got close to her, and while we were talking, she was like, oh, you should work at this place because you're going to get better in your English. I'm like, I'm actually prepping for a bodybuilding show, so I really can't eat that pizza, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
But when I was making the post to thank people and thank everybody for the support, I got hundreds of messages. I got really emotional about thinking I have these people that are there for me and they appreciate me and they like me for who I am. I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not. I don't have to struggle anymore because I want to call a friend and I don't have a friend to call. I have people that I can count on, and that's unwavering support from people that you didn't even know 3 years ago is something insane. Yep. So after that, I trained a few times with Nate, trained like a real bodybuilder, you know, like laid on the floor after my set because it was so intense. And I just kept that in the back of my head, and I said to myself that no matter what happened that year, I was gonna make it to NPC New England. So a year later, I was on the stage.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And welcome to the Apex Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Bob G. DMD, and I'm here as always with my co-host.
Dennis V, how are you, Bob?
Fantastic. Cold out today, man.
Oh my God, it's cold. We have our first real New England snowstorm. Next couple days, sub-zero temperatures, which is a contrast to the 83 degrees in Brazil, where it's summer now, for our very special guest today.
Yeah, we have the pleasure of welcoming a top 3 competitor at the NPC New England. I met her through, our coaches. We have the same coach, actually, Nate Tello, and I had the pleasure of watching her first competition at NPC New England in November. She placed in the top 3. She's a Jake Cutler-sponsored athlete, and she is an up-and-comer in the bikini division. So I would like to welcome Livia Viera, all the way from Brazil, and she's going to tell us her story, and she's definitely a competitor to watch.
Well, I'll be honest right away, just hearing that in your first competition, you're in the top 3 already. That's a way to get the ground running and get moving. Great job and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here tonight with you guys.
Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we were talking earlier, right? How did you end up getting involved with doing bikini competition in the bodybuilding world?
So, random day that I had the day off at work, I decided to go to Gym Hub because I just wanted to try different place. I get there and I started talking to Nate because I got lost in the city, so I wanted to apologize for being late and everything. And he was like, "You're totally fine." Showed me around the gym. It was the first time that I was in an actual like bodybuilding gym and getting to know all of the equipment and everything. So we just kept in touch after that. About a year later, I got to buy a product and I reviewed the product on my Instagram stories, just saying that it was a great product. It was the first time that I was trying something that I actually enjoyed and I really liked the taste. So he connected me to Jay Cutler, and I became a sponsored athlete. And when I became a sponsored athlete, I wanted obviously to meet Jay. So that happened at the NPC New England, where I worked Gym Hub's booth. That was Nate's way to get me to watch my first bodybuilding show. And having Jay, of course, a 4-time Mr. Olympia, telling you should be on that stage just lights a fire inside of you. So
yeah, one that you can't.
Yeah, you can't dim the light.
You cannot extinguish that one.
Exactly.
No, for sure. I mean, just being in his presence is really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of meeting him quite a few times. Yeah.
Yep. So after that, I trained a few times with Nate, trained like a real bodybuilder, like laid on the floor after my set because it was so intense. And I just kept that in the back of my head. And I said to myself that no matter what happened that year, I was going to make it to NPC New England. So a year later, I was on the stage.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And, Dennis, you and I were sponsors of that show.
Yes, we were.
And you were not able to go because you had some personal stuff you were attending to. But I was there. Yeah. And I got to tell you, Livia totally owned that stage, without a doubt. And Nate was telling me to look out for you and Maddie, and you guys did great.
Yeah.
Those were both of his athletes at that competition. So
I think a lot of the posing and just showing off your physique with such confidence makes a huge drastic difference on stage, because there's people that have the body but don't have the confidence, or came to the stage with a lot of anxiety and they just get so in their heads. Me and Maddie were so comfortable in there, and we were just really, really enjoying the day. There was no anxiety, there was no stage nerves or anything like that. You could see that smile on stage was like a true smile.
Yeah, you could feel it from the audience. That was great. Yeah.
So Livy, when I'm thinking of that, so a year before you started training, you go to Gym Hub, and then a year later you're on stage and you're talking about this confidence that you have. Was that confidence there when you walked into Gym Hub, or did that evolve over the course of a year where you built that confidence and the coaching? Please explain.
So I owe my confidence to therapy, actually. I was very self-conscious growing up. I struggled with my appearance. I didn't like the way I looked, which is why I got into the gym. I was just so unsatisfied. And even if you get compliments from the outside, if you don't feel good, you don't feel good. So that was what motivated me to get into the gym. And then after building the habit, I'm here every day. Now I'm going to start training hard. Now I'm going to start, eating better, making better choices when I go out and do anything. And I started doing therapy to work on some problems that I had and some mental things that you can try to bury it, but it always comes out. So I started doing therapy for that, and that just gave me the confidence to be who I truly wanted to be and get into doing more of what I like to do, which was something that I also led in the past, which was dancing. I love dancing. So that helped with my posing routine, because the flow, it all came from dancing, all of it. And it also just helped me being comfortable in front of people, because if you're so self-conscious, and if you don't like what you see in the mirror, if you have those internal questions that are not quite answered yet, you feel uncomfortable showing, even if you know it's good, to somebody else. Especially when you're on the stage where there's 200 people in the crowd, there's a ton of athletes watching you. There's a 4-time Mr. Olympia watching you.
There was more than 200, by the way.
Yeah, so
there was way more than 200.
There was a ton of people there watching you, and if you're not comfortable in your own skin, it's gonna show.
So one of the things I can attest to over the past few years, I've been hanging around in gyms trying to get better myself, and I've noticed that the people who are the most confident in the gyms and the ones who are kind of running after bodybuilding glory, so to speak, have all done therapy. Yeah, it's definitely an endemic thing, and I'm a big proponent of it, as is Dennis.
100%.
What was the first thing that ever had you decide that you wanted to go to therapy?
So, interesting story. I knew this woman from my city, and she talks a lot about style, and she used to post a lot about fashion on her Instagram, and I loved it. I was completely passionate about it, but I had a hard time dressing myself because I'm a taller woman. I'm 5'7", and I had a hard time putting heels on, and I didn't want to call too much attention because I already have, not today, but I have like big curly hair. So that all of those things draw attention to me, and because I was self-conscious, I did not want to draw attention to myself until I got on this call with her while I was here, beginning of 2023. And while we were on the call, she told me, let's stop right here. When you show me your closet, when you show me the choices that you make, everything there looks great. You don't have a problem buying. You don't have a problem with not knowing what your style is. You have a problem that you don't think you have the right to wear these things or have the right to own these things. You just think that you don't deserve it. So she told me to actually go to therapy and we could talk later. And I ended up actually never talking later to her because therapy just brought so much of me out that I didn't know was even there, that I could look at my closet now and just put an outfit together in like 5 minutes, which was something that I would cry over before. So it was like a little silly thing, just talking about fashion, that uncovered that need. And I was in therapy for a very long time with this one woman from my city also, because I just prefer talking in Portuguese. It's easier to express my emotions.
Yeah, sure.
So that was what got me into therapy. And because I was in it and I was already consistent with the gym, I had proved to myself that I can do this. I just have to figure out this other things that I tried burying this entire time and covering with other stuff and shopping and, oh yeah, I don't feel good today, so I'm going to go buy myself a little treat. So I stopped doing that and actually doing therapy and talking about my emotions and journaling and just really working on being grateful for everything that I had and owning it, like not being afraid of being myself. And that completely changed the game.
Fantastic.
And that's a great message. So you're from Brazil. Mm-hmm. What was Brazil like? Talk about, and you moved here a few years ago.
Yeah, I moved here 3.5 years ago. I got here on June 11th, 2021. And Brazil is great. My family's there. My friends are there. I grew up in a very tough spot, in a very tough city. Very small neighborhood. Like very far away from the city. I live like 15 miles away from the city. So we had 2 supermarkets. We have a little like local like places that you could go and buy things. And there was just not a lot going on down there. So I went to a school that had no infrastructure. So really hard to get out of there and actually do something when you're in Brazil, because you either have a lot of money to put you into like really good places, or you are just completely out of the curve. And it's hard to be out of the curve when you're the place around you doesn't feed that into you. You're not excited to go to school because you know that you're going to be learning something that you should have learned, 5 years ago. So Brazil was hard, built character, I should say. I had a hard time growing up with parents that were divorced, so I was raised by my grandparents most of my life. And I am extremely grateful, and I look at all of the situations that happened with me as they built character, and they built the strength that I needed to deal with things that happened later on my adult life. So I had at 19 years old to make choices for that would decide my entire future, and I didn't have anybody holding my hand and telling me this is the way that you should go. I just had to do it by myself. So it was a lot of trial and error, and a lot of accepting, making peace with that past to then start growing from it.
So what's that first choice you made where at 19 that you started to head in that direction?
Coming here, because on the day that I turned 19 was actually the day that I was flying to do my interview to get my visa and come to America. So I had the option, obviously I wanted to come here, but you're presented with the option. You can either go there, you don't know what's expecting you, you don't know anybody there aside from your father, and you don't know what you're going to do, if you're going to have friends, if this is going to work out, expectations. I had nothing. I just had a dream and a date to do an interview. And that was the first choice. I had to come here, and I just had to figure out. I never lived with my dad before, so that was going to be also a first-time experience in my life. It was never just me and him. It was always my grandparents, and he would be there sporadically. So that was the first choice. And then coming here, I had to kind of figure it out by myself. What am I going to do for work? How am I going to chase opportunities? How am I going to learn this language? I need to be proficient. Like, where can I put myself to be in a better place?
So you didn't know English coming?
I took English classes in Brazil. I always wanted to come to America. So I took English classes in Brazil. I used to work at a apprentice job where they had it, because the place in Brazil where I lived was a low income place, and they had this big factory that exported cellulose, which is the raw material for paper.
Yep.
So those companies, they were obligated to give a certain amount of kids from the school that I went to, like part-time jobs. So we would go to school 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. A bus would come and pick us up and take us to go to work. So I would go to school 7 a.m., 12 p.m., 12:30 to 5:30 at work. And then twice a week, I took English classes from 5:45 until like 7:15 at night. So I use that time to learn as much as I could in school, but you don't learn a whole new language for right. like 2 hours in school.
Yeah, you have to be immersed in it, right?
Yep. So,
and I can imagine it's got to be extremely scary being, 19 years old and then coming to a different country that you're not completely fluent in the language.
Yeah, it's hard, because when I was in the airport and they were asking me questions, I had to be like completely focused to understand what they were saying. But luckily, I always had it was just easy for me to learn. I'm a really good learner, so if I listen to it and if I dive into it a little bit and if I write it out, I can teach myself. So I learned a lot through music. I would read the lyrics, read the translation, then read the lyrics, then try to repeat it, and then try to say the same way that they are saying, and record myself and listen to myself and be like, that sounds stupid. Let me do it again. Yeah. So that was how when I got here, I had not been studying for an entire year because of the pandemic. So when I got here, I still had a proficiency that I technically wouldn't have if I just left it at what I learned in school. But I wanted it so badly that I just kept going by myself.
Yeah. That drive was there early for you.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. There's no accident while you're hopping into competition in November, brand new, when you're already placing second and third, because you have a work ethic with persistence and drive that is. It's amazing.
That's one thing that I admire my father for. When I got here, a lot of people were telling him, oh, she shouldn't be cleaning houses, and this is not what you want your daughter to do. But every time somebody would question that, he would say she needs to learn and she needs to experience what it is to be at the bottom, because then she's going to give so much value to when she gets to a place that's better than this. So I got here, I cleaned houses, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts. cleaning houses was not easy. I'm telling you right now.
No. Cleaning my own house is not easy.
I know. And we would go to like, I don't know, there was times of 6 houses in a day. So you're running around with a vacuum and you're cleaning this and you're taking this out and you're taking trash out. And I was working in Brazil already. I was a makeup artist. I was a nail artist. I did eyebrows. I worked at a salon. I used to do some modeling for stores and there. So it was completely different to what I was doing here, which was not a bad thing, but it was hard because it was like a workload that I never had before, because prior to being in the salon, I was just in school. Yeah. So between school and having my little apprentice job, it's nothing nearly as like a workload that's not nearly as heavy as cleaning houses and, I don't know, doing 60 hours at Dunkin' Donuts in a week.
Yeah.
So you come over and you're cleaning houses, working at Dunkin', and you're working hard.
Yep.
Was this the American dream? Was this not what you expected when you came? Did you question yourself, your decision?
I never did, because I came from such a rough place that when I was working at Dunkin' Donuts, I was proud to work there. I was making minimum wage, which at the time was, I think, $13.50 or $13 an hour. And for me, having that and being able to, I don't know, step into TJ Maxx and buy myself a little bag, I was over myself. I was like, this is amazing. I love this place. And I always came from a place of, when I was talking to myself, I just wanted to be grateful to have everything I had, because I could remember being in Brazil and dreaming about having it and just not doing it. Like yesterday, simplest thing, I was making myself dessert, because there's this little, we call it an Italian palette. It's not Italian, it's Brazilian, but it's something that's made with condensed milk and chocolate powder and just cookies. Super simple. But in my household, it was a luxury to be able to afford to buy condensed milk. It was not something that I could just step into the store and buy. So when I moved here and I had a job and I was getting paid, for me, I was completely over the top. This is the dream. And I wore the shirt very proudly. You know, I used to work at Dunkin' and I'd post myself working. I'd record myself working, because I was proud of it and I was grateful to have a job. So I never came from a place of, oh, I'm better than this. I could be doing like something else. I never came from that place. I was always very, very grateful for whatever opportunity I had.
You have a positive mindset.
I do.
How do you think that helps you in everything that you do?
I think that when I look back to every opportunity that I had was always because I approached things in a positive way. My job at house cleaning was because of my dad's friend, because he knew somebody that worked with it. And then at Dunkin' Donuts was because I got close to her, and while we were talking, she was like, oh, you should work at this place because you're going to get better in your English. You know, you're going to be around people that speak English all day. So you're probably going to make less money there, but that's going to help you in the future. It's the kickstart that you need. So I was grateful for that. And because I was always so open and smiling at people, it doesn't cost me anything. I went to Macy's to buy some winter clothes because it was my first winter here in September of 2021. And I was just sitting over there, and I always like to dress up, even if I didn't quite know what I was doing. So I'm sitting at the mall, and this lady approaches me, and she's saying, you look pretty. Where do you work? And I told her, I work at Dunkin' Donuts. She was like, oh, do you want to work at Macy's and sell perfumes? I was like, oh my God, yes, I would love to do that. So I feel like because I was always happy to have what I had, but I was chasing something better, the opportunities kept coming to me. And because I always approached everything with such a positive mindset and such a positive approach overall, even if it wasn't something that I dreamed of. I didn't dream of selling perfumes at Macy's. I didn't even know I could do that. I just always approached everything so positively that good things just kept coming my way.
That's an amazing lesson for people the listeners to actually listen to. I talk about that a lot. Positive mindset is everything.
Yep.
And when you have a positive mindset like that, opportunities will find you.
Yep.
100%.
Even in a bad situation, for example, for my next job, I'm working at Macy's. My boss, my manager, approaches this man that's walking around the mall, and he has a Bank of America name tag on. And she approaches him. She's like, I have a girl that she bought a car, and it's a super high interest rate, and she needs to refinance it. Because when I went to buy my car, they were telling me, oh, yeah, 22% interest rate. I was like, that's totally great. Just give me the car keys. So I take the car, and I'm paying an absurd amount of money for like a Honda Civic. I'm paying the credit card interest rate for a Honda Civic. So she approaches him at the mall, and she introduced me to him, and he was Cape Verdean. So she told him, oh, she speaks Portuguese, blah, 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 if it makes it easier for you to communicate, because he was trying to explain it to me for me to refinance my car. So I go into the bank, and the end goal was to refinance my car and hopefully save me some money. I get declined, but I got myself a job. Because I was over there and I was talking to him, and I was like, oh, I didn't really know what I was doing, but if I don't get it, it's okay. I'll figure it out in the future, and I'm working towards this, and I want to grow, and I want to do something else, but I don't know if it's the time yet. And he told me that you can apply for an entry position, and you can put me as a referral, like if they want to like talk to somebody and just say that you were in touch with somebody at Bank of America. I get a great vibe from you. Your boss spoke like very highly of you because of nothing. I just approach everything with a positive mindset. End of year, like seasonal time at Macy's, these people are, oh my God, it's a tough time to be there. But I was working again, 50, 60 hours. I'd never complain. My boss asked me, Black Friday, you have to be here 7 a.m. and leave here at 7 p.m. That's what I'm doing, and I'm not saying a word about it. And going between Dunkin' and Macy's, because at some point I had both jobs too. So I was always transitioning into something, and I always left the last place with on a good note. Yeah. I always left my last place, and I was like, I'm very grateful for this. Thank you for the opportunity. It's time for me to move into something else. But
very important to do that.
I don't want to close the door. You never want. You never know what's coming your way.
Yeah, there's a few years between you and I and Dennis, right? And I can tell you that my and I've owned many businesses, and my dealings with some of the people who are of the younger persuasion don't always do that. And I think some of that's been lost, and I'm hoping some of them listen to the episode, right? Because it's incredibly important to leave on a good note.
Yeah.
It's a great message, and it's many doors have opened up for you, not only with your positive mindset, but you're nice and you're approachable, and you're selling yourself in what you can do for
to help. Company. 100%. That's what I always want to do wherever I'm at. If there's a new employee and the person is having a hard time doing something, I want to help. I'm always available to help, even if it's not within my capacity, or it's an assistant manager's job. You shouldn't be training the new person, but it doesn't cost me anything to help them with it. And for example, when I walked into the bank for the first time to open my account, I had no idea what a checking and savings and a credit card was and a credit score. They were just telling me, and I'm sitting back there and I'm like, okay, you're telling me all of these things because it's your job and you know it, but I don't know what you're talking about. So every time a client sat at my desk, I try to put myself in the client's shoes, and I'm asking myself, okay, I'm saying to them, okay, we have a CD and this is the interest rate, but do they know what a CD is? Yeah. Do they know what they're doing? Do they know about a credit card? Do they know how a credit card works? So every time that a client in any situation came to me, I always try to put myself in their shoes and just think about, if I was never heard about this before, how could I tell them this in a way that they're going to actually understand it and not just use whatever jargon that we have in here, like bank jargon, whatever, and just truly make it about the other person, not make it about sales, not make it about, I'm gonna get service. Something out of this.
Yeah, it's about service.
Yeah, and what really blows me away is we've learned from you earlier on in the interview when you shared outside, you're doing this with no support.
Yep.
You're doing this 100% on your own. How are you navigating this with nobody really to lean on but yourself?
It's difficult, but I believe that it's the universe just always works out something. It just always brings something my way. I had a relationship before where that person, we are not together anymore, but he taught me so much. And there was a lot that there was many situations where I approached it with a maybe scarcity mindset because I didn't know that I could do more, so I just wanted to hold on tight to something. So he taught me you have to let go a little bit of things and you have to be open to learn more. So I believe that I've always had guardian angels come my way, which are not immediate family, but are friends that I made along the way, and they always teach me something, whether they are in a position that's better than mine or worse than mine. I just always learn something from everybody that comes my way, and I always try to take it that way. Even if I have, for example, a friend or an acquaintance that is doing bad or is doing something that is not good for themselves, not even harmful to me, it's to themselves, I just always look at it and I try to take what's the lesson from it. What can I learn from this person's situation and apply to myself? So I just always had this mindset of I can learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, you have a growth mindset for sure. I can tell that for 100%. One of the things that is a tenet for me is, and I 100% subscribe to this. You are the average of the five people you spend the most time with. So I'm constantly, if I'm in the room and I'm looking and I'm the best person in that room at any given thing, I'm looking for another room.
Yeah.
It's very similar to like what you're describing, I think. And I think you're just kind of happening on it
yes.
through trial and error. That's one of the things that I did with, with Nate in particular, is I was looking to finally get to this certain goal. And I was in a room of people where I wasn't getting the growth that I needed, and I needed to get, around a bunch of people with a different mindset. And it sounds like you're doing that in stages, and I think you're going to go and have great things happen over time if you keep doing that.
It was very lonely when I moved here first. The first year and a half, I'd say 2 years, I barely had any friends because all I did was I'd go home, I'd go to work, I'd go to the gym, and repeat. That's all I did.
That's what I do now.
But it's very different when you grow up here because you went to high school here. You had like childhood friends, and then you walked into the work environment and you made friends like along the way working. I was brand new.
That's true.
I sometimes when I'm struggling with something, or if I think I'm not growing enough or fast enough, or I could be doing better and there's people my age, they are doing this, I just sit back and I'm like, okay, there are people my age that are doing better than me, considering their circumstances. Were their circumstances even close to mine? Did they have to go through packing their life in a suitcase and moving to another country? Did they have to learn an entire new language? Did they have to work their way to find themselves a job? Did they have to? Probably not. So then I just sit back and I'm like, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Liv, a lot of what we talk about is living your life at the apex. And in your young life, you have accomplished so many goals, but along the way that Bob and I have seen, you have many obstacles in your life.
I did.
Okay. How do you confront obstacles? Do you want to run from them, or do you tackle them head on? I mean, through therapy, have you learned to deal with obstacles better?
Therapy definitely taught me how to navigate and let myself feel my emotions. I was always very emotional. And in school, actually, I was so goal-oriented ever since I was a kid. I just wanted to learn. I've always wanted to learn, and I will always just have that drive in myself. But emotionally, I wasn't okay because of problems with my mother and problems with my father. And I just had a lot going on for somebody that was 6, 7, 8, 10 years old. So when I started elementary school, I already knew how to write, I already knew how to read, and I already knew how to spell things. And what they're teaching you in that first grade, I already knew all of that. So I was in my class 7 years old, and I was helping my colleagues write their names, and I was helping them learn cursive, and I was helping in my class. So 3 months in, I believe, they gave me a test, and they were like, if she passes this test, we're just going to put her in second grade. So I was the youngest in my class in second grade, and then I left my friends that I went to preschool with. And after that, it was just a little hard because I had eyes on me, but I didn't know what to do with the eyes on me because all of the people were like, why is she getting in our class in the middle of the year? So I went through that, and they were going to bump me up from third to fourth grade. But because I was such a crying child, I would cry for everything. They didn't. And that was something that I think about it today. I'm like, damn it, if I just didn't cry when that mosquito bit me.
Well, it sounds to me like you were academically ahead, but maybe emotionally behind.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there's probably some wisdom in keeping you back a little bit. You can ask the professor, though. He knows better than me, you know.
Socialization is so important with children. It's absolutely so important.
So I went through that, which were good things, but it all comes at a cost. So my best friend that I went to preschool with, she was kind of left behind because we weren't in the same grade anymore. And I went through hard times with my mother because she was a drug addict. So most of my life it was in and out. She would disappear, and then she would come back, and then she would disappear, and then some days she would say that she was gonna show up at our to see me at my grandparents' house because they were on my dad's side, and she just wouldn't. So I'd go to bed and have emotional fever. I'd cry in my sleep. So I think because all of these things just happened at such a young age, when I was 12 and 13, 14 years old, when things started happening and I was aware of what was actually happening, I was just numbed on the situation. So instead of letting myself feel it and go through that emotion, I'd just numb it out. And I'm like, this is exactly what I don't want. So I always kept in the back of my mind, this is what I don't want. I don't know what I want. I don't know if I want to be a business person or a like a doctor. I do not know what I want to do, but I have the example right in front of me of what I do not want to do.
And it sounds like at a very young age, you were developing coping mechanisms to kind of block it out.
Yep.
What was going on?
So it was a lot. I saw a lot of things that a child shouldn't have seen. And I was in the middle of a lot of people that a child also shouldn't have been. And when I was 14, she would travel and she would leave me by myself. So I was 14 going to parties like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it was just the way that I found to not feel it. So I would suppress all of that and I'd just find ways to escape it. So when you're 14 years old, you obviously not think, oh, yeah, this is definitely a way that I'm trying to escape feeling the emotions that my mother is making me go through. But in September of 2016, when I got in touch with my dad again, he was already here. He gave me the choice. You can stay with your mom. That's completely up to you. You can stay with your mom and you can do whatever you want and you probably won't have a future. Or you can go get back to your grandparents' house, which was also not an easy choice. And you're going to lose all of the freedom. You're going to be, eyes on you 24/7 because we know that you were drinking over there and you were going out to party. So you're not doing any of that back there. And you can eventually come to America. So that was the choice that I had to make at 14. That was the choice that changed the course of my life because I could have been with my mom and did whatever I wanted, but I would be nobody at 22.
In my years of education, what I've learned, first of all, kids, adolescents, you need structure.
Yep.
Everybody needs structure. Nobody ever says, please give me structure, especially when you have a situation where your mom's not around, your dad's in America, and you're totally void of structure. But once you have that structure implemented, things change for you.
It was really also hard living with my grandparents because they didn't want me there. My dad couldn't bring me here yet. My mom was just a terrible choice altogether. So I had to think to myself that every single time that it was really hard and I wanted to just disappear and I didn't want to be there anymore, all I thought about was one day I'm going to be in America and I'm going to change my life and I'm going to work so hard. I'm not going to depend on anybody to do it for me. That's where the drive comes from.
Yeah.
So that drive
100%.
started when once you 13, 14 years old,
Yeah.
and you have been nonstop for the last 8, 9 years. And it must be tough for a young lady to not feel like you belong in a specific situation.
I never belonged. I was never a popular person in school. I was bullied so much, and that was also part of very emotional, and everything was just suppressed. I was very bullied. I didn't have a lot of friends. I couldn't really go out a lot because my city was like such a tiny place, and it was such a violent and a lot of drugs. So there was not many options of things to do in there. So I'd stay home. I didn't really see the world until I lived with my mom, where I could just do whatever I wanted pretty much. And I go to like different cities with people that I didn't even know. It was me and my other 14-year-old friend, and we'd go to places, and I started seeing the world, and I was like, okay, this is all fun, but what am I doing? Where is this gonna end? Because that was always the thought in my mind. Where is this gonna end? I don't want to end like my mother. I don't want to end like these people. So I either make the choice now, or I just let it roll and see what happens. And I didn't want to see what happened.
That's such a level of maturity at a young age to make that decision and to see without anybody giving you a sense of direction.
Yep.
You decided.
Yeah.
And
I had all types of colors in my hair when I was like 14. And this person in school that she was in charge of communicating with parents and everything, she called me in her office a few times, and she told me that you do that because you want to call attention for something that's an underlying issue. And at the time I was like, it's totally not. It's totally because I love pink hair and blue hair and green hair. But I just wanted to feel like I belonged in a group. So if it was cool to have colorful hair, then I would have colorful hair. If it was cool to have piercings, I had my nose pierced when I was 14. If it was cool to have tattoos, I had my first tattoo as a gift for my 14th anniversary, like 14 years old, and I was doing a tattoo. So I always felt left out because I wasn't there long enough to have childhood friends because I was already 14. And I wasn't with my childhood friends because they moved away. And it was just so much all the time that I had to find something else to cope with. So because I was always left out in the groups and always just felt like I didn't belong anywhere, I kind of had to be comfortable. Just learn how to be comfortable with myself, learn how to do things by myself. And I'd go out to eat by myself. And it was just a habit that I created. So when I got here and it was really lonely, I struggled a lot because I didn't know anybody. I would want to go to the mall and shop, and I didn't have a friend to call, let's go to the mall with me. So that took a toll on my mental health for a very long period of time until it didn't anymore, until it didn't matter.
well, kudos to you for going into therapy and unpacking, I'm sure, a lot that has built up over time. And now you're part of an amazing community at Gym Hub.
Yep.
You're competing. And, a lot of times in life when people find, because I've worked for years in college and high school, and one of the most important things for kids is having feeling like they have a sense
community.
of belonging,
Yep.
a community, whether it's a sport, an activity, a club. Once you feel like you don't belong, things start to fall apart. Mm-hmm. So now you're part of a community.
Yep.
You're competing.
My Gym Hub community.
But it's funny when you say every time you mention that, you smile from ear to ear. How does it feel to have that space or in your work community?
Yep. I always worked with older people because I'm in banking. I'm a banker. I've been a banker for 2 years and 9 months now. So all of the people that I worked with were 50. The youngest probably was my last assistant manager, who was 28 years old. But all of the people that I worked with were way older than me. So it was not like they wanted to go to the mall with me to shop or to do like, activities of that people my age want to do. And I've always put myself into places where people who are older than me are, just because I had all of that. I unpacked everything and I did everything I wanted to do, and I went out drinking, I went out partying, really when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. And then now, because of the maturity level that I had to obtain to go through so many hard things, I just can't quite bond with people who are my age. So at work, the first branch that I worked at, they kept it very professional. We are here, we're not friends, we're only here we work together, we do great together, but this is it. Like outside of this door, you mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
No community. And then my next job, which was at Eastern Bank, what I started last year in Duxbury, then I had a little sense of community because these ladies, they wanted to go out together after work, and they wanted to have a drink, and they wanted to do this and do that. So that felt great. And one other thing that really changed it for me, which was getting back into dancing. I went to a random party with my uncle, and I almost canceled on him because it was cold. It was December already, 2023, and it was cold. And I was like, oh, I really don't feel like going all the way there. But I went, and it was this band from Brazil that they play a style of music that's called forró. And that's what my grandparents listen to all the time, every day. My grandfather goes and sits on his chair and turns on his speaker, and he sits and watches the street all day long. So I went there, and then I danced with this guy, and then he told me afterwards, we have a group, and we just like have a group chat, and we say there like wherever we're going, and if you want to join us, you can join us. Sometimes we carpool, we will go to other states for this. And they mostly live like Nashua, Lowell, so they're very distant, but they come down to all the places that they're having some sort of event. So that felt great. So I'm doing something that I like, and I have a community that likes to do it with me. So after just getting that first touch, that first interaction, you get to meet other people. And then I was already meeting people at the gym. And then I was starting to go to Gym Hub more often. So it was all in 2023. I say 2023 was probably the best year of my life. I got to see Beyonce, which was a dream. I'm a big fan.
Fire.
I had my ear surgery done, which was something that I was bullied with. So I had an autoplasty done. And I went to Albania, to Greece. So I traveled. I did a lot. I found a community. I was like, okay, I can finally sit back now. And then I feel good with the people I'm with. And because I just felt so good, and I started going out and getting outside by myself, I just kept meeting people. And I also, always quality over quantity. So I didn't want to meet a ton of people. I just wanted to meet very few great people that like to do what I like to do. That was all. So I got into the gym, and I got into dancing, and that was basically what made 2024 doable for me.
And I learned from a birdie, an unnamed birdie, that when you competed, colleagues came and supported you.
Yes, I had one of my coworkers from Duxbury, Eastern Bank. She came in, and when I was going through my prep, she saw me getting hangry. She was telling everyone she's going to compete in the bodybuilding show, and she's going to do great, and look at this. So she came to the show to support me. I had my friend Luana, and I also had my friend Renata and her son. They were all wearing shirts with my pictures and my name. So that was just like a wholesome moment. And that day that I saw, like, I have people I can count on. I have people that are there for me no matter what. I'm sure my coworker wouldn't just walk into a bodybuilding show and sit there for 2 hours to watch random people, but she did it for me.
It's not just 2 hours.
Yeah.
They go all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So she worked that day. She went home, came out of her house, drove all the way to Boston, sat on those chairs just to wait to watch me for 15 seconds on that stage. So that
did she go to prejudging or just the final?
Prejudging.
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
That takes
and then Renata, Luana was backstage all day long with me. So I picked Luana up at her place at, I don't know, 8 a.m., maybe 9 a.m. and she was with me until midnight that day.
Wow, fantastic.
Yep.
That shows the impact that you're making on people, and you have true supporters and people around
Yeah.
you, which you deserve.
I got when I was writing my post, I still get emotional about it, but when I was writing my post to thank people on my Instagram, because I didn't make it really known that I was going to compete until 2 weeks out. Whoever was close to me knew it because they would invite me to go out or to eat, and I'm like, I'm actually prepping for a bodybuilding show,
Yeah.
so I really can't eat that pizza, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
But when I was making the post to thank people and thank everybody for the support, I got hundreds of messages. I got really emotional about thinking I have these people that are there for me and they appreciate me and they like me for who I am. I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not. I don't have to struggle anymore because I want to call a friend and I don't have a friend to call. I have people that I can count on, and that's unwavering support from people that you didn't even know 3 years ago is something insane.
I resonate with that 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I have that same kind of group, actually.
So-
and I talk about it in the book.
Getting to Gym Hub last year too, I met Katie, I met Maddie through prepping for the show. I met Chrissy. So it's just a lot of good people and people that can add to my life. And I don't have to feel like I have to put up a mask when I'm with them. I can be myself.
It's liberating, isn't
Yep.
it? Mm-hmm. 100%.
So I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not to have friends. I'm just myself, and they like me for who I am, and I like them for who they are, and we hang out, and we go eat together. Preseason prep right now, and
Yeah.
on Thursday on Gym Hub's party, I'm like, why don't you have a slice of pizza? And she was like, oh, I'm in prep, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Dennis was eating like he was chowing down, and he's like, "You want something?" I'm like, "Yes."
I want it.
Yeah,
I can't
right.
have it.
I left
but
him
I want
hanging
it.
by himself for a minute because the food was too good.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what? This is a celebration because you've done a lot of work, therapy, all of your work, professional,
If I could tell
everything.
anybody one thing that you have to do to change your life's therapy. If you don't find a person, if you don't like the conventional therapist, I did art therapy, so I'd be drawing, I'd be writing with colorful pencils, I'd be doing those things. I feel like for men, they have a harder time talking about their emotions and expressing their emotions because they feel like they have to be the strong ones all the time. So I can see why it's harder for a man to open up to it. But if you have the opportunity, if you go through a hard time in life, if I could tell you something, is go to therapy. It
100%.
completely changed me.
100%. And I can't even tell you how many people have sat in that chair and
And
has
said
said
the
the same
same thing.
thing. Yeah. So, I mean, we have this propensity to interview people who are either, at the top or on their way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them have gone through adversity in some way. And I would say almost all of them have resonated with go to therapy, even the men.
Yep.
Yep. And even
I-
some very famous men that have been sitting in this chair. So,
I think that last year I had a pretty eventful year. I thought that feeling of, okay, I didn't do anything. I feel like I'm stuck in the same place. And then I got to thinking about it when I'm laying in bed. I spent New Year's in my bed with my cats. So I was thinking about my year and I'm like, okay, so I got a new job. I totaled a car. That was very eventful. That's still a process that's ongoing. So almost a year later, I got a new job. I totaled a car. I started and ended a relationship that I did not want to be in no longer. So it was just a lot that happened, and I moved into my own apartment. I moved in by myself and went through a preparation for a bodybuilding show that is by no means easy. I had days of exhaustion that I was doing cardio in the morning, working my job, then going to the gym, lifting, doing cardio again. I had to step out of the gym after my lift and just take a nap in the car because my eyes couldn't stay open anymore because I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
But I did it. I did the thing.
You
and
did.
I was on that stage
You did.
and
You
then
did
I
the thing.
owned it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, really tough on you, and you don't see the way out when you're doing it. And if you make any mistakes, you're on your head about it. But if you just think everything is temporary, this is gonna go by, this is gonna go away, this is gonna go away. If it sucks today, but tomorrow can be a better day.
One of the things that helps me during it all is I say, you know what, I'm doing this by choice.
Yeah.
It's my choice to do this.
It's a privilege.
Yeah.
When I was in Brazil, I wouldn't have the privilege of, I'm gonna do a bodybuilding show. First, because it costs a lot of money. Second, because I didn't have the structure for it. I just, there was no expectation whatsoever when I got into the gym that I was going to bodybuild someday. And every time, like I had a guy that told me at the gym that you should compete. And I was like, you're crazy. I'm never going to do that. I don't think I'm built for it. I don't think I have the genetics for it. And I just told myself all of those things, and I just never gave it any kind of thought. And seeing myself on that stage, he actually messaged me and he was like, I told you you're going to do this someday.
There you go.
So it was just, it was just like a great experience, but it was hard.
What have you learned from going through and doing a 16-week prep? Did you do 16 weeks?
16 weeks.
Yeah. What did you learn? What did you take away from that? And did you actually, I have a not a follow-up, a preceding question. Did you do a traditional, like a bulk phase or anything like that, and then do a prep?
So I did not train like a bodybuilder before. I did not eat like a bodybuilder. I was just on a diet because I wanted to gain weight. My initial thoughts on the gym, I just want to gain some weight and not be the skinny fat anymore.
Yep.
And I was eating I was eating a lot. And I was bulking, but I never took it very seriously before, like the year before. Maybe after meeting Jay and after him telling me, oh, you should compete, then I took it more seriously. I was training harder. I was really, really sticking to my bulk, which was hard, and getting sick multiple times throughout the year. That slowed me down. I feel like that slowed me down a little bit. But when I went through prep and I started cutting in the middle of summer, and every day that I checked the boxes, I was like, wow, I did that. Okay, so I just have to do this one more day. It's not even, 16 more weeks. I just have to do it one more day. If I can do it one more day, I can do the next day. And if I can do the next day, I can do the other day. But that's the problem. When the sun's coming at you, you don't want to be looking at it. That's exactly what I did. The show was coming up, and I just didn't want to keep thinking about it, so I just kept focusing on, it's okay that I'm exhausted today, I'm gonna get a good night of sleep, and then tomorrow I can do this again. That's what helped me go through the entire show, the entire prep, and I learned that I can do so much more than I actually think I can.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be able to keep doing my job while prepping for a bodybuilding show. I didn't think I was going to be able to go out. And I went out. I continued to go dancing. I continued to see friends. I sat on pizza parties at work multiple times.
Yeah, that's
just
a tough one,
looked
right?
at it.
Discipline.
That's a tough one, yeah.
I had my friends over, actually. I had a friend that she's not into bodybuilding at all, but she wanted to see me, and it was the night of the Mr. Olympia. So she comes over to my place, and she's having drinks and having soda and having an entire pizza. I was so unfazed by it. I was just looking at it. I was like, I don't even want that. Because at that point, I was already so far into my prep. I was just thinking, I could only think about, I made it so far, I can go a little bit more without this.
Yep.
And it was for the first time in my life that I could actually structure a morning routine, because I had a really hard time getting up, especially during winter, which was usually when I would try to get better habits, getting up early, and especially getting up before the sun is up. It's very tough.
Tough.
Yeah.
And I had to organize my routine to be out of the house by 7:30. So I had to get up, get my morning meal, get my meal ready for my lunch bag. I was doing my meat fresh, because at that point I was so tired of eating meal prep. So I'd at least prepare my meat in the morning, or chicken. And I had to do, we started at 20 minutes. We ended at about 45 minutes. So over the course of 5-6 weeks, we went from 20 minutes of cardio in the morning to 45.
Yeah.
So I had to get up, I had to do everything. I had to do 45 minutes of cardio, get ready for work, eat my breakfast, and be on my way to work at 7:30 in the morning. So I had to be up really early,
4
which
a.m.
I never did before.
Yeah.
So getting up at 5 a.m. or the days that rained that I actually had to go all the way to the gym, which was 15 minutes away. So that's an extra 30 minutes that I have to take into account.
Like your whole day is planned out to
I
the minute,
never
right?
had I think prep taught me how to be organized. I was never at that level of organization where how I was in prep. And right now, that's something that really stuck with me is my calendar. Everything is on my calendar. If I have to text certain person about this thing this day, it's on my calendar. The time that I wake up, I have a list of the vitamins that I'm going to take. I'm going to do breakfast at this time so I can be at work by this time. And on my lunch break, if I have to do something that's close to work, I can do it then. If I have to grocery shop this day because, I'm running out of yogurt, everything is on my calendar. And that's my biggest takeaway from prep because you cannot do prep if you don't have a certain level of organization. It's just impossible.
And determination, right? And,
Yep.
And making sure that sometimes you were talking about just today, right? Sometimes I have to go this hour, this minute.
Yeah.
I have to get that.
You have to
tight, yeah.
make sure that everything is squeezed in
Yeah.
because there were times where I would try to stay in bed for an extra 10 minutes because I was just so exhausted. And oh my God, I have to work out tonight and I have to get home and I have to eat and I have to... life doesn't stop. So I still have to clean. I still have to do laundry. I still had 2 cats that I have to feed them and I have to change the litter box and do everything. And they want attention and they're scratching my door when I close them because I'm trying to go to sleep. So it was... everything just had to be extremely organized to the minute for me to be able to do it.
100%. That's real.
That's real bodybuilding.
That's real bodybuilding. It's real determination. Yeah, for sure. So now take us to the day that Jay calls you to become a sponsored athlete.
So I did a couple of pictures. I was in touch with the brand director, Drew. So I did a couple of pictures, and it was just gonna be a one-time thing. And after I did the pictures and had Nate and Jay talk, and Nate and Jay were close at the moment, I didn't know about it. So after all of that happened, Drew got in touch with me and he was like, we really like the pictures. Jay really loved the pictures. I was like, oh my God, Jay saw my pictures? So when that happened, then Drew told me, we want you to be like a sponsored athlete. So we'll send you products every month. We will send you merchandise, and all you have to do is create content for us. And this is how we're gonna take it. And when I first started, I was still just in like lifestyle. I wasn't planning to bodybuild. And then 3 months later, I met Jay in person, and I met Angie, and it was just such an out of this world feeling, because I even had a friend from Brazil text me, because he has been into bodybuilding for longer than I have, so he knew about Jay way before I did, and he texted me, holy crap, are you with Jay Cutler right now? And then I realized the dimension of the thing that I was doing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm with Jay Cutler right now, and I'm like, his brand is sponsoring me. I came from nothing. I had no idea what I was gonna do when I landed here on June 11th, 2021. I had no idea what I was going to do, what to expect, nothing. And then today I have a job that pays my bills, that allows me to have like a work-life balance. I don't have to be, cleaning 6 houses anymore a day. I am at the gym, and I built so many better habits in my life, and I have a brand of supplements sponsoring me. So that was when I had that moment, and I was like, okay, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
And nothing was handed to you. You
Nothing.
did it all in your
All
own
hard work.
Hard work.
Determination and
I
grit.
am very. I talk to my friend, my best friend. She's in Brazil. We talk basically every day through text message, phone calls, and one thing that I always told her, even if you're not expecting, just always be ready and be open for opportunities. I was never expecting the things that happened to me. How I got my job at Eastern Bank, how I got my foot into Eastern Bank was because I was at Bank of America and I had this client come in, and I started asking him just about his business and about like he had a business account with us. So I'm asking, what does your business do? How do you manage your business? You know, how you're doing this, how are you doing that? And because we built that connection, and I referred him to somebody that I thought it was going to be beneficial for him, and it was a great interaction. He turned around and he gave me, as a gift, Patriots tickets it was the first time that I went to watch the Patriots. They lost. It was so bad. And I understand nothing about football. No, it wasn't 2023. They scored zero touchdowns that game. But I had so much fun because I don't understand anything about football. So I was just like, yay, in the crowd. And after that, he has a transportation company. So while we were going to the game and he was taking me and my friend Luana, I was asking him about how do you manage everything and how do you do this and who set this up, and he told me everything about it, and I was like, you know what, why don't you give me a part-time job? Just kidding. And he actually said, so if you're serious, like, I will give you a part-time job. So while I had the part-time job with him on the weekends that they had games, I would go there and just sit in the hotel lobby. I was talking to him that I was looking to go to another company. I wanted to grow, and I didn't feel like I was doing that at my current position. So he connected me with somebody at Eastern Bank, and just because I was nice to a client that one day at Bank of America, I got a whole other job.
Yeah, that's such a huge lesson for everybody. You know,
yeah,
for sure.
It's always been, I'm in a place, I'm nice to somebody, they remember that, and then they get me when they have an opportunity, they think of me.
Yeah.
So
sure.
anyway, it's never like faked. I'm not trying to take advantage of people. I'm not trying to get something out of it. It's just from my nature. If I have an example, like in front of my building, there are 3 parking spots. And if you are a turbo driver, like, I don't proud myself, but I'm not a really good one, you're going to park in a way that you're going to take 2 spots because they are not marked, you know. So every time that I drive in, I'm just like really careful, and just that thought for the next person, I'm just going to pull all the way in so this person can, there's 2 parking spots still there. And there's people that I see there every day, they just park however they want, and then there's only 2. Like, it doesn't cost you anything. It will cost you $0 to pull your car a little bit more, but some people, they're just so self-centered that if you don't think about anybody else, nobody else is going to think about you.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I also saw, not to change the subject, but I want to get back to the endorsement stuff. Mm-hmm. You just took a photo shoot.
Yes,
with another
Lions Eye.
With
Lions Eye Athletic.
Yeah, talk about that.
That was also somebody that I was connected through Bayshore, actually, which is my regular gym. Close to home, I've always been there. And we met through a mutual friend when he competed in the NPC New England, Shy Cole, which is the owner of the brand. And it was actually the NPC New England that I worked at Jim Hub's booth. And I watched him on stage. We weren't really close then, but I wished him good luck and texted him, like, congratulations. And last year in December, he got in touch with me and he was like, I really like what you do on social media, and I want to get people that are not just into bodybuilding, but they do other things, and they just, just people that are in the community and they have that sense of self. And we connected beginning of last month, and he told me, I want you to be a sponsored athlete. So we're going to come out with new drops, and we'll get you that merchandise, and we want you to do photo shoots, and we want to build that community around Lion's Eye until the day of the first drop, and just have that thing. It was a really great opportunity because that reminded me of what I used to do in Brazil. Yeah. I used to model a lot for stores in Brazil. And it just kind of like died out when I came here because I didn't really know that many people, and that's not the way that they do the marketing for things in here, kind of. So it just felt really good to be able to get back to that, and I feel like I'm finally settling down. It's hard to build an entire new life in a different place. So I say that I'm settling down. It's been 3.5 years, but it's now that I'm getting a sense of, okay, I know where I am.
Now you're in your groove. You found your groove.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm so impressed by you and your story.
Thank you.
I know Dennis is. We talked about it before we even talked to you about coming on the show. And Nate kind of, told us about you a little bit off camera. And
Nate's a great person. I feel so inspired. And I actually, when I was writing a life plan last year, I did like a little vision board on my living room, which I also did last year. And it was a bunch of checking off the boxes. I had a bikini, like Laura Lee's picture on my vision board. And I went and did my first bikini show. And I had, I wanted to get into better style, and I did. And I did all those things. So I decided to go way ahead of time and do it for 2025 too. So I sat down and just had an honest session with myself at like 3 a.m. and wrote everything. What am I doing that's not nourishing a better future? What am I doing that is nourishing a better future? What can I do to create better habits or enhance the things that I am currently doing? Because I feel like I'm in the right path. I just have to get better at it, because it takes time to develop an actual, expertise in certain things. So I sat down and I wrote about every single question that I could think about. And then at the end, I just wrote about who inspired me. Who is a person that I look up to when I think about this certain thing? So I have Katie, who is a close friend. We were together earlier today, that she's my fashion icon. I tell her all the time, I want to dress like you. I want to be a corporate boss woman like you are. And I have Nate, who is just like a business person. And Nate actually touches about the therapy point a lot, which is not something that you usually see. So I see a lot of Chris Williamson's podcast, and it was something that is talked about between successful people, but I don't see really people around here talking about it. So
we talking about it all the time.
Yeah. So, and the people that you're with, you just open up a broader thing of people who are like they are. So Nate introduced me to you guys. So now I know, because of Nate, I know you guys. So I just think that it's very, very, you meet similar people to the people who you're hanging out with, kind of too.
Yep, that's that.
So
5
Nate's
people
a great person, so I know he's a great person. So I know if he's like, oh, look at Katie, and she's great, and you should come to Gym Hub and meet her. And when I met her, we instantly clicked. So that was great. And Nate is just a person that I look up to, like his work ethic and Gym Hub and like the business side and also the personal side. We had a very emotional moment at my first show, because I didn't even think I was going to get to the show day because of so many things that just happened and just kept happening. And I got actually sick when I was 5 weeks out from the show. I was like terrified. 3 days with no gym and no cardio, and I couldn't eat. And he just put my mind at ease. So he's just an inspiring person. And I have also Jay written down in there, because Jay is such a down-to-earth human. You're around him, you couldn't tell that that's a famous guy. You couldn't tell that guy won 4 times Mr. Olympia, because that's not what he talks about. He checked in on me after the show, like, when do you expect Jay Cutler to be? So how did you feel after the show, and what are your plans now? So I'm really fortunate to be right now in a moment in my life where the people who are close to me are actually the people that inspire me, and that's just fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Tremendous.
Yeah. So what's the future hold for Livia?
I definitely want to compete again. I said it was going to be a one and done. It's not going to. So I want to compete again. I am working to just get better at my job. I've been in banking for almost 3 years, and you want to build some proficiency before you try something else. So I really want to get really good at my job and be like, okay, is this what I want to do, or do I want to do something else? Because I kind of fell into banking, but I also love helping people, especially coming from somewhere where most people struggle financially. Is a relief to me when I have the opportunity to sit down with somebody and help them. So before I really wanted to get out of banking because I was like, this is not what I want to do. And I really want to get into fashion and everything like that. And then when I actually saw the purpose and how good it was for me to have that opportunity to be in banking and learn how to manage my money, to not make the mistakes that my grandparents and my parents did, and actually have the opportunity to also help other people. And knowing another language comes in really handy when somebody walks into the bank and they're struggling they had fraud or they want help with something, but they can't have the other person understand them. So when they see me and they're like, oh, thank God you're here.
And we have
it's like a wholesome feeling.
We have a huge Brazilian diaspora here in Massachusetts.
Oh, yes, yes.
For sure.
Especially in this area. Worcester has a lot of Brazilians, Albanians, but the South Shore, so many Brazilians, Everett, Revere, Framingham. So all of these areas have a lot of people that are Portuguese speaking. And unfortunately, not everybody has the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes life you just get carried away and life takes you other places. My dad, when he moved here, he was 37 or 30, 36, and he knew very, very basic English. And up until the point where he did his interview for his citizenship, he learned everything by himself. He took a few classes in person, but it was not doable because he works a blue-collar job. So he works doing foundation and construction. And he didn't have the time to go sit in a classroom and learn. So he had to learn it by himself. And he used to say to me that don't do the dumb decisions that I did, because I could have had a better job. I could have had better education, but I just let it go away. So I take it very to the heart. If somebody tells me, don't do what I did, I'm like, I'm not doing what you did. So he learned English by himself. He studied by himself for his interview, while snow plowing, he would put his phone connected to the car and just listen to the questions, listen to the answers. And that's, you can't beat that. You can't turn around and tell me, oh, I didn't learn because I didn't want to. Sometimes there is limiting factors, but most times you can overcome them. You just don't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
I was a terrible example, but I was giving one of my coworkers an example about something that she wanted to pursue, but she was like, oh, I don't know about it. I'm like, you don't want it bad enough, because a crackhead, when they want crack, they will go after it.
That's true. That's true.
They will find a way for it. So you don't want it bad enough. If you just think that you can't do it and you don't even try, you don't want it bad enough.
It's true. Dennis, I'm waiting for your question, man.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Be patient. I'm always running. I feel like I'm always running out of time, and I felt my entire life like I was running out of time, and I still do sometimes. I look at other people and I'm like, okay, I'm 22. I need to be doing this and I need to be doing that, and I used to get so in my head about taking time to sit back and just relax. I'm not doing anything. Today is a day that I'm not doing anything. I'm just gonna lay in my bed and I'm gonna go for a walk and I'm gonna cook myself like a fresh meal that I don't get to do always because I'm always eating meal prep. So I would just tell myself to be a little more patient, because things are going to happen when they're supposed to happen, not when you think you deserve them, not when you think you're ready for them. They're going to happen when they're supposed to happen.
You are like so beyond your years. Yeah, it's really amazing.
That's what I think. Majority of people that meet me either at the bank or outside, and they don't really know me or they don't know much about me, they always think I'm like 30 years old, 25.
Your maturity is not that of the age that you told me you were before we started. Yeah, that's for sure.
I get it all the time. 25, 27, 28, 30.
Yeah, unbelievable. Dennis, I mean, this is incredible.
Incredible. First of all, the challenges that you've had to overcome at such a young age, basically raising yourself early on, making the move here, having the maturity to decide that you needed support in every viewer. Anybody should watch this and really listen to your lessons, the support that you've received, your determination, your resilience in the 4-letter word that is not in your vocabulary is quit. And
Nope.
there is, I just look forward to see what's next for Liv.
If I actually, I want to add something on top of, don't just be patient, but also accept help. I used to think accepting help was such a bad thing, and I need to figure this out by myself. I've always done it by myself, so I need to do it by myself now, and that's not the truth.
It's not a weakness.
It's not. It's not. It doesn't belittle you to accept help.
Yep.
If somebody knows how to do something better than you do, why wouldn't you let them teach you?
Of course, right? Success leaves clues.
Exactly.
It 100% does.
And I actually also saved a quote that I saw the other day on Instagram. Don't call me lucky if I failed more times than you've even tried.
Yeah,
I have
that's so
tried
true.
everything a million times until I found a time that worked. I never just quit. I tried over and over and over and over and over until I find a way that works.
Yeah.
There is a way. If somebody else did, then you can do it too. There is a way. You just have to find what works for you.
Do you like basketball?
No, I don't. I'm not into sports.
Do you know who Michael Jordan is?
Yeah.
All right. Do you know how many baskets he missed? People don't talk about that.
Probably a ton.
They don't talk about what
nope.
he missed. Best player ever is,
Yep.
you know, it's those, what you call mistakes, where they're just, you take those as opportunities to become better, and you are doing your best to be the best version of yourself. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. So I have a question before we wrap it up, too.
Okay.
One is, how can people follow you?
My Instagram is Livia Viera, LIVIA, 3 underscores. And I also have a YouTube channel that I'm supposed to be posting, but I haven't. But that's linked on my Instagram. So if you find my Instagram, you can find my YouTube channel.
We'll link all of that into the video description,
Perfect.
so that'll
Thank
be
you.
cool. But I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
And you may not want to answer it yet, but what do you think about a pro card in your future?
I actually, I want to pursue bodybuilding. I want to really train like a bodybuilder and eat like a bodybuilder. I feel like the gym was a foundation to give me structure for so many things. So before, I always thought it was something out of reach. Competing, bodybuilding, anything in general was just completely out of reach for me. And now that I did it once, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I just have to get better, and I just have to try a little bit harder. And every time that I'm doing a set now, I was saying that on my prep, I was just thinking about the next day. Now, I'm just thinking about the next rep. If I can do just one more, then I worry about the next one in 4 seconds from now. I just have to do one more and one more and one more repetition, one more meal, and one more chugging down that little last piece of chicken at the end of the day. When you're so tired of eating, just one more. And I really want to pursue bodybuilding.
Yeah, I think you definitely have the genetics to do it. You definitely have the grit and determination.
I love the posing too.
The work ethic is second to none.
Yeah, fantastic. Dennis.
It's go time.